Let me paint a picture. You're supposed to meet your friend at 7. It's 6:40 and you're already parked outside, sitting in your car, scrolling through your phone, pretending you just got there. You've been there for 15 minutes. You tell yourself it's because you hate being late, but here's what's actually happening inside your brain. And honestly, it's a lot deeper than just being responsible. People who always arrive early aren't just punctual. Psychologically, they're wired completely differently from everyone else, and it starts way before the alarm clock rings. Here's something nobody tells you about people who show up early. Most of them aren't excited to be there. They're relieved. See, for people who are chronically early, lateness isn't just an inconvenience, it's a threat. And that's not dramatic, that's neuroscience. Your brain has this thing called the anterior cingulate cortex. Think of it as your brain's alarm system. In people who are always early, this part of the brain tends to be more active. It's constantly scanning for things that could go wrong. So when a person like this thinks about being late, their brain doesn't just go, I'll be a few minutes behind. No, their brain goes, what if traffic is bad? What if I can't find parking? What if I walk in and everyone stares at me? That's not overthinking, that's a neurological pattern. Your brain is literally running simulations of worst-case scenarios before they've even left the house. And here's the part that surprised me when I first learned this. This pattern usually starts in childhood. Stay with me. If you always show up early, think about this. What happened when you were late as a kid? Maybe your parent gave you that look. Maybe your teacher called your name in front of the class. Maybe nobody said anything, but the silence felt worse. Psychologists call this conditioned anxiety. Your brain learned very early on that being late equals disapproval. And disapproval to a child's developing brain feels like danger. So your brain did what brains do best. It adapted. It built a system, a rule. If I'm always early, I'm always safe. And now, 10, 20, 30 years later, you're still following that rule, even when there's no punishment waiting for you, even when it's just coffee with a friend. The fascinating part is you probably don't even realize you're doing it. You just think, I'm a punctual person. But underneath that identity is a protection mechanism your brain built when you were 7 years old, and it never turned off. Here's another layer. People who arrive early tend to score high on something psychologists call need for cognitive closure. Sounds complicated. It's not. It basically means your brain hates open-ended situations. It wants answers. It wants plans. It wants to know what's happening, when it's happening, and ideally, to already be there when it happens. And arriving early is the ultimate control move. Think about it. When you get there first, you choose the seat. You scope out the room. You settle your nervous system before anyone else even walks in. You're not being early, you're preparing the environment so it feels safe. This is the same reason early arrivers tend to over-prepare for meetings, rehearse conversations, and triple-check directions before leaving. It's all the same wiring. And before you think, okay, so I'm just anxious, hold on, there's actually a superpower hidden inside this. Because research shows that people with this trait tend to be more reliable, more trusted, and more successful in long-term relationships. Want to know why? Let me explain. There's a concept in psychology called social contract theory. Basically, humans have unspoken agreements. I'll respect your time if you respect mine. People who show up early send a signal without even trying that says, I value this. I value you. I took the time to be here. And here's the thing, people feel that, even if they never say it. Research from organizational psychology shows that people who are consistently early are rated as more competent, more trustworthy, and more dependable, even when their actual work performance is the same as someone who shows up on time. That's the halo effect in action. Your punctuality isn't just a habit, it's a social signal that changes how people perceive everything else about you. But, and this is important, it comes at a cost. People who are always early often carry a quiet resentment they never talk about. Because here's what happens. You show up on time, you show up early. You plan, you prepare, and then other people don't. And it stings. Not because you're petty, but because your brain interprets their lateness through your own lens. If being late feels dangerous to you, then when someone else is late, your brain reads it as they don't care. That's not always true, but that's how it feels. And over time, that silent frustration builds. Psychologists call this asymmetric attribution. You judge yourself by your intentions. I care, so I'm early. But you judge others by their behavior. They're late, so they don't care. The healthiest thing a chronically early person can learn is other people's relationship with time is about their brain, not about your worth. And if that hit you just now, good. That's what this video is about, seeing yourself clearly. If you're watching this and thinking, wait, this is literally me, drop a clock in the comments. I want to see how many of us are in this club. And if you haven't subscribed yet, you're going to want to, because what we're about to talk about next, it's something you probably do every single day, and you've probably been told it's weird, but it's actually a sign of something powerful.